Good day, everyone. My name is Matbagon, and my part and topic for the cyberfeminism is radical cyberfeminism. So, radical cyberfeminism is like the online version of what we call radical feminism in real world. So, if we are going to define radical feminism, so it is the political ideology, a perspective within feminism that calls for a radical recording of society in which male supremacy is eliminated in all society and economic contexts. In feminism approach alone, their goal is to only minimize the power of men in the society to create an equal right for both men and women, right? However, the approach of radical feminism is to completely eradicate the male supremacy in all social and economic contexts. And if we are going to apply this to the cyber world, they call it radical cyberfeminism, an approach wherein some cyberfeminists in the virtual world wanted to do the same thing in the cyberspace. When digital world started to become a thing, the data showed that most of its users or population consists of men, and most of its platforms like online games shows pro-masculinity, wherein it became a triggering issue for some theorists in the field of feminism or the pro-feminists. This actually resulted to the increasing numbers of women that have organized their own lists and bulletin board systems, creating women-only spaces where participants can collaboratively construct an oppositional gender. One of the largest such spaces is called Sappho. It is a women-only list dedicated primarily to the discussion of lesbian and bisexual issues. Sappho is like a blogging website existed in the 1990s, wherein it only allows women participants, and the website's main purpose is for women to share their opinions and discuss about the most relevant discussions that primarily involves lesbian and bisexual issues. So it actually became part of the radical cyberfeminism as they wanted to create a cyber community or cyberspace that doesn't allow men to participate. However, maintaining a women-only space status on an anonymous email list became a difficult task for them since the gay and male community continuously invaded their so-called women-only space. So they created an online screening process to filter participants that wants to subscribe to the website. And these led us to the different subtopics in relation to the women-only space of radical feminism and their strategical way in maintaining the women-only space, and this includes name conformity, anti-flaming policy, support and respect, political correctness, separatism and the creation of cyberculture, signatures, and signatures. So let us first start with the name conformity. So the screening process begins with an examination of the subscriber's name. So participants are expected to bear a feminine sounding email title. So while most of the subscribers to the list carry overtly female names, a few members have what this veteran calls atypical names. Atypical meaning uncommon or rather ambiguously gendered names like Lu or Ibu60YS, and those who carry more masculine sounding names require greater scrutiny. So meaning they have to administer a further inspection into that certain subscriber that bears or uses a masculine sounding names until they can prove that the user behind that name is indeed a woman. So I have here an example here. So one woman subscriber sporting or using the name James had to justify her name choice in a public posting after receiving a flood questioning messages through private email. She explained that she's a female who has traditionally male first name, and she had to explain that she also uses her first name James even though it spikes suspicions but she still used the name because she loves it, and she also exclaimed that men shouldn't have a monopoly on that name. So that's it for the name conformity. It is like it's like a verification process wherein a subscriber needs to verify its identity through its utilized name in the women-only space. So next is the anti-flaming policy. So anti-flaming policy is like a policy, that restricts users from posting insults or avoidance of any verbal behavior which could be perceived as adversarial. So even if a participant joins the list bearing an overtly feminine name, she is still expected to conform to the list's idea of discursive femininity, meaning subscribers are required to talk like a woman, a traditional woman rather. They should not engage in aggressive arguments. They should behave like a woman supposed to. So verbal abuse and aggressive flaming that is equivalent to an undesirable masculinity should occur in women-only space. Sensitivity that some users shows emphasizes that cyberspace is a form of reality, an emphasis very different from male claims that online interactions is nothing but fantasy. Take for example, the member who's abbreviated as J had caused participants into a number of angry discussions on whether her aggressive interactional style demonstrated femaleness or maleness. In this particular case, the issue was resolved only when the subscriber was identified as a woman. They somewhat concluded that name conformity doesn't ensure and confirm one's real identity in respect to sexual orientation. Thus, implementing anti-flaming policy will not create a safe space for women only, but still needed to maintain peace of the space within the users or the community. Anti-flaming policy focuses on keeping women in their shoes. Behave and talk like a woman as given into flaming discourse means you are behaving and showing masculinity, which arises suspicions again within the women-only space. So next is the support and respect. So perhaps to avoid the fate of subscribers like Jay that was mentioned earlier, participants quickly learn the rules of a supportive and respectful cyberfeminist discourse. The author's interest in keeping the list a safe space for its participants is rather different from the male. Women and men differ not only in net behavior, but in the values they assign to such behaviors and gendered attitudes towards etiquette. So it's already understandable naman, no? So for the last topic of my part is the political correctness. So the list's desire for discursive conformity is so strong that one of the subscribers reproduced some rules in a public posting of etiquette rules entitled How to be Politically Correct on Sappho, or How to Answer Posts Without Starting Flame Wars. The self-imposed conformity that the message satirizes points to an ethic of collaboration even more severe than that discussed by Herring in her articles on computer-mediated ethics and politeness. The rules which constitute this netiquette are not only characteristic of the postings on the list, but they are required as proof of one's femaleness. So women before show sensitivity in respect with sexual orientation, especially the feminists. However, in these modern times, we have to be thankful that all the online platforms have now disregarded the toxic bantering between genders, since they wanted to emphasize the idea of equality in cyberspace. Users are treated equally regardless of their identity, as long as you are part of the community and you respect each terms and privacies, then you matters. That would be all, and thank you.